Our Story Productions presents Martin County on TV, spotlighting the organizations, businesses, and citizens who are making a difference in our community today. And with interviews and stories done by local television shows over the last 25 years, here you're sure to learn more about the county we call home. Get ready, for this is Martin County on TV.
Hi, I'm Ned Koppen with the Fairmont Area Chamber of Commerce, and I'm here with Joe and Lea Riemann today, and we're talking business on Martin County TV. Lea, Joe, how are you?
Hi, good to see you, Ned. We're doing well.
Thanks for coming today. So you guys are relatively new in town.
Yes.
Tell me about that. Where are you guys coming from?
Yeah, we moved here. It'll be 2 years in October from Minneapolis, and yeah, it's been great.
So you guys came to town and just decided that you needed to open your own business.
Pretty much, yeah. After a couple months of being here, we really were drawn to, live in a smaller town, smaller community, live close to the lakes. That was the draw. Was really as simple as that, and no predispositions or ideas about opening a business whatsoever. But after a couple months of being here, we really wanted to find something that would bring us more rooted in community and offer opportunities to meet more people and just get more involved in some way. And both of us have a combined sense and history of entrepreneurship and business acumen. And so it made sense to try to start a business. That just came naturally, I think.
Yeah, that's great. And you landed on opening a brewery.
Yeah. That wasn't where it started.
No, I think, opening a brewery landed on us generally.
Yeah.
We both have a history in natural foods and grocery, and so that's where we orientated to. I think initially we just identified things that we missed about Minneapolis, natural foods being one thing that we kind of knew a lot about, and the more we brought that up to folks, they all kind of had the same reaction of, yeah, that's a good idea. You should open up a brewery. And so that was also on our short list of things that we could do and things that we missed. And so, we tell people that Fairmont
chose the brewery.
Fairmont
they sealed the deal for you?
Yeah.
We were peer pressured. No, I think Fairmont had the good idea, and it turned out to be the best idea for us too.
Terrific. Now, where are you guys located at?
414 Downtown Plaza. We're just next door to our wonderful neighbors, the Crazy Ladies, and then a wonderful PCA company that's next door to us. And we're nestled between Grooming Dales and other groomers on the corner there. So if you're familiar with those, then you'll know where we are.
I am.
We're in the what was the Fairmont Senior Center for almost 60 years. So there's a rich history of community gathering space and really a heart of Fairmont and bringing people together. And before it was a senior center, it was a diner, a much beloved diner, which apparently had really good roast beef sandwiches, we've been told.
Okay.
And so we're just carrying on a long tradition of that space being a place where people can gather and enjoy each other's company. So.
Well, I've been to your guys' business, and the remodel is great. I like the historic portion of it. You left some of the raw brick on the wall, and it's really nice. And anybody who hasn't been there, you should stop in and check it out. So a brewery, it's all about beer, right?
Heck yeah.
Yeah, we brought some. Did you want some?
Let's try it out.
All right.
And maybe while Joe pours, what does that process look like, Lea?
When we first opened, we really looked at kind of, what do we see Fairmont residents drinking? And so we knew that we wanted to come out with a nice lager that would be, familiar to people who go for the good classics, Miller Lite, Coors, Bud. And so our gold medal lager was kind of the first recipe that we wanted to make sure to get right. And that's where it all starts, with the recipe. And then, of course, with the mash grain bill and the wort, and then fermentation, clarifying, making sure the carbonation is right. And then voila, here we are.
And This particular brew is
This is an English porter. I'll let Joe tell the history of this because there's.
I'm going to have a sip here. So
yeah.
Delicious.
When we first embarked on starting the brewery, when we first moved to Fairmont, we really geeked out and had a whole honeymoon period of Fairmont and all things Fairmont. So we spent a lot of time reading everything there was about Fairmont, including the Historical Society. And so the last time there was a brewery in Fairmont was in 1879, and it was started by an English settler by the name of Gideon Smalls.
Okay.
And he was known for his English ales and porters. And so we knew that we wanted to do an English porter, and give a nod to Gideon Smalls. So this is Gideon's Revival English Porter. And we also really wanted to get as close as we could to maybe what he would have made. And so we also got our hops locally from Gene Tone. I think the most important thing about brewing beer and the end product is 95 to 97% water, and so we benefit from the fact that we have a really natural body of water, and the main ingredient of our product is something that a lot of other breweries around the country covet, especially breweries located in maybe a more metropolitan area. We have the benefit of having our source of water be a natural source right here.
Is there an evolution of brewing as you go? The first time you make beer, then the second and the third. Does it keep improving? Are you rock solid on it? What's that look like?
Yeah, I think we're continuing to learn. I think we really have been trying to just work our way through all the different types of beer and see how community responds to that. Definitely people like the lighter beer.
They do, but when we came out with the lighter beers, we had a lot of requests for a dark beer. And so, we just have these different small communities. And so when we did come out with the porter, there was a lot of happy Fairmontonians.
And that cycles different people through your business as well.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and I think, a good example of what you're asking about, the organic process and evolution of the beer is we came out with Gold Medal Lager. And what we heard back was, there's a little citrus flavor notes to it, and it was because we used a Citra hops. And so when we remade and brought Gold Medal Lager back, we used a different hops that's a little more tropical notes. So now we call it Gold Medal Summer Jam, and that's been really popular this summer.
Well, what I really was imagining are the two mad scientists in there, at 2:00 in the morning, and tweaking this and tweaking that for the perfect brew. But just the fact that you can kind of experiment with different ingredients like you just described, that's a great reason to keep people coming back all the time because the beer evolves a little bit or it changes a little bit, and that's fun. Yeah,
we just came out with a seltzer. There are some people who can't do beer for one reason or another, just personal taste or dietary restrictions. So having a seltzer on the menu really helped. But when we finished it, I really wasn't happy with the way that the seltzer came out. And we had to really play with the flavorings and come out with a complete product that I felt proud of. And although I was hesitant when we released the Sicilian Sunset Seltzer, it was actually a huge hit. And people are really liking it. So if you need a seltzer, make sure you come through. We've got some great options for you.
So do you have a vision for the future?
To be here. That is our vision. To exist and to be here. I think a lot of craft breweries have a lot of ambitions to niche out, to expand really fast. And I think, Fairmont is a small town and has wanted and needed a brewery for a long time. And I think that there's beauty in just being that.
So if somebody wants to learn a little bit more about Fairmont Brewing Company, outside of just coming in and ordering a beer,
Head to
Facebook,
our website.
website.
Head to Facebook, head to Instagram. Our website has a great About Us page. It also has cataloged all of our newsletters. So you can kind of go back and read through and follow us in our journey and what we've been up to. And if you want to be an insider, you can sign up for our newsletter. And that is where you get more exclusive information and you get to know about special events, like we just had a beer brunch that was really great. And we sent that invitation out to our newsletter subscribers first. So those are the types of opportunities you get when you join the newsletter.
Do you have some regular events that are going on? You're relatively new, but do you have, Wednesday nights or this and Friday nights or that?
We would love some suggestions. We're noticing that doing music has really been something people really enjoy. We've had some food events, so we're still experimenting, but we would love to hear from the community about what types of things they'd like to see, and maybe that'll take shape over time.
Is there anything else that you guys would like to share today?
Yeah, we brought over some we always get requests for merch. We'll get more, but we've got some awesome patches that are iron-on. I have a couple of shirts and a jacket that I have one of these on. These are really great. They're just $5 at the brewery, but Joe typically gives them away for free. They do cost money.
If you come down to the brewery, we have this photo album that shows pictures of the senior center and the remodel and everything else. There's a lot of people that
Stage
come in
by stage.
Yeah, and have
And
memories
what it used to look like.
of being at the senior center, not just seniors, but
Right.
people doing birthday parties or whatnot. And so
This is an example of one of the old beer halls, and I think this was gifted by, shout out to the Martin County Historical Society who donated a lot of photos of just different history from Fairmont. So this is one that we have in the brewery. And then this is Joe's grandpa here.
So we also have a picture of my grandpa, who is firstborn generation German, who grew up in a German-speaking household in Milwaukee. Obviously, Milwaukee has a rich history of beer making in the U.S., and so we thought that would be good energy to kind of bring our own legacy and heritage, and also have that reflected at the brewery. So,
and speaking of full circle, one of our newest merch items is by Fox Lake Furniture, which is a really beautiful cribbage board that Sam, who owns Fox Lake Furniture, used epoxy to put our logo on. We have a lot of games at the brewery, so if you come in, you can grab Uno cards or playing cards, or you can grab a cribbage board to go. If you're coming for tourism reasons or you just want a memento, we'll have more things like this to share. But it's really special because Sam is from Fairmont, and we love supporting Fairmont makers. So if you have a craft business and something that we could sell at the brewery and put our logo on, let us know.
So, Joe and Leah, thank you for being with us today. Hey, let's toast your appearance.
Awesome.
thanks for having us.
Welcome to Fairmont. Congratulations on the new business, and we'll see you next time on Talking Business on Martin County on TV.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Welcome to Out of the Past, brought to you by the Martin County Historical Society. My name is Lenny Tvedten. I'll be your host today. Today we're going to visit with Paul Gladfelter. He's a longtime resident of Fairmont, but he moved here about 50 years ago, and the reason he came was something to do with Wick Homes. So first of all, Paul, what brought you to Fairmont?
Well, it was a story of being tired of being on the road for 15 years. I was a sales engineer for a company out of Portland, Oregon that sold capital goods equipment to the paper industry. I've been to every paper mill in the United States. We finally wound up in Appleton, Wisconsin, and at that particular time I was tired of being on the road, and so I decided that I was going to go into my own business. So my God-given talent was mechanical stuff. That's why I was a sales engineer. And so I started building houses, got my realtor's license, and I was building a house one time, and in order to do it the way most contractors do it, is to get a contract and then get the material that you were going to build sent to the job site.
Is that kind of like what a stick-built house is called?
That's called, right, Lenny, very good. That's called a stick-built house. And so if it was in the fall or it was in the spring and they delivered all this material, which you had to have in order to start building from the ground up.
So you were thinking maybe take a different approach than that.
Yeah, well, what happened one time, it was everything that I've done in my life has always been something that God has been intervening in. And I was building a house one time, and I had the deck all done, and there was a piece of plywood that was over the stairwell, if you will. That's where we would put the stairs down to the basement. And there was a piece of plywood over the deck, and for some unknown reason, one of the other men that was working on the site decided to take that piece of plywood off that hole, and I backed up and I went right through this hole, and I landed on my back. And my reaction was so quick. I landed on a pile of dirt. I jumped up and I started running around thinking, oh my God, I must have broken my spine or broken my back, and I didn't. And from that moment on, I started thinking a little bit different. Isn't there another and a better way of doing what I want to do as far as being a contractor and building?
So is that how you got to get introduced to Wick Homes?
With Wick. And what happened, Lenny, was during that time right after that, just about a week after, I was on a site where I saw this huge truck come in, and it had material on the truck, and it was all covered up. And right after the truck came was this big crane, and I'm thinking, wow, what's going on here? So they took the canvas off of all this material that was on these trucks, and this crane got ready to lift these panels off of the truck. Now I'll tell you about the panels off the truck and start building this house. And I was so fascinated, I had to stay there for the whole day to find out what was going on. Here I was previously building houses. It was taking me 4, 5, 6 months out in the rain, walking in the mud, doing all that. And I thought, this has got to be a better way of doing it.
And this is in Wisconsin that you saw?
This was in Wisconsin, and the factory was in Mazomanie, Wisconsin. And so I thought, I'm going to that factory and find out what's going on with this.
So how did that get you to Fairmont?
Well, how it did was they hired me because of my background of traveling all over the country, being in sales. I mean, my forte is really selling, being able to talk to people and, show them what's good and what's bad. And so I went to the factory and I found out that everything that they do was done inside this huge factory. So all the material never got rained on, it never got wet.
So it was all environmentally controlled.
It was very good, Lenny. That's exactly what it was, environmentally controlled. And so I went up and I said, are you guys looking, do you have any openings in your corporation for anybody? I mean, I was ready to move when I saw this. I thought...
And they hired you on the spot.
And they hired me on the spot. Well, because of my background in sales and going all over the country, and not being afraid to do this and that. They hired me on the spot. And what they hired me for was interesting. They said, we are thinking of building another plant, and we want to do it in the Midwest. Oh, you do? Yeah. John Wick. John Wick was the owner of this company. And incidentally, the company at that time was making double-wide homes. They were making, we called them pole buildings, or they were in the agricultural business of building sheds and storage bins.
So more than just houses.
For the agriculture industry, and then the homes. So they said they want to build a plant in the Midwest. So we would like you to go out and look for a site and look for the possibility of getting dealers. So on a whelm of whatever, just putting my faith in God that this was going to work. Wick Homes hired the plant manager, the general manager, and me as sales manager to move to the Midwest. So the three of us with our families, we all had families, we were young. And at this time, I still had 3 boys that were in high school, and I had one that was in college in western Wisconsin. So we all, on good faith, moved to Fairmont, Minnesota.
Why was Fairmont picked?
Well, it was really interesting. We looked at 2 other towns that we thought might be a possibility of building a plant in.
Sure.
One of them was Le Sueur, and the other was St. Peter. And then the third one was Fairmont. And the reason Fairmont was so good was because we at that time had 2 men that were here in Fairmont that worked for Wick and sold their products, all 3 of them. They were able to sell the pole buildings, the homes.
What year was that?
That was 1971 that I was hired by Wick. And then we moved here. All 3 of us came to Fairmont, Minnesota. We built Wick Homes to live in. And I remember in October of 72 moving into my home down by the golf course, and it was snowing. There was about 2 feet of snow when I was unloading my furniture to go into my new home.
But what was it about Fairmont that impressed the company or you and the other 2 people to want to come?
Oh, it was wonderful. It was so wonderful. When I came to Fairmont and I saw what Fairmont had to offer us, I thought this has got to be the place that we have to build a plant. This main street here, the 4-block area, there wasn't a vacant place of business. People were walking up and down the streets. They were trying to find parking spots in order to be able, to be part of this community, and to all these stores. It's amazing what was here. The other thing that was really important for us was the industrial base that Fairmont had. Fairmont had 4 or 5 big corporations. There was Armour's and Stokely's. There was 3M.
Railway Motors.
There was Railway Motors. There was Aerospace Systems, right. And that was one thing. The other thing was Fairmont at that time, which was not only the public school system, Lenny, that was very important because the public school system was very strong. Not only that, they had a Catholic school system and they had the Lutheran school system. So anybody coming into Fairmont had the choice of one of those 3 school systems in order to use. Sure. With this, and the ratings on the educational system were very high at that time. One of the other things that we thought as a drawing point was we had an Olympic pool. Now that might sound like, oh, so what? What about Olympic pool? Well, people that wanted to swim with an Olympic pool that was indoors, we could use that pool for 12 months of the year. So all these little things just kind of worked together as to Fairmont has got to be the place where we're going to build this plant.
Okay, so what really happened with the plant? Was it built here?
Well, it was kind of a sad story. Now, remember, 3 of us in faith moved here, built houses with the idea that we were going to have a plant.
Sure.
Well, in 74, things started to go in the dumps as far as construction was concerned and timing. And Wick Homes was a very successful corporation. And, you have to make a profit in order to make something go. And John Wick, who was very, very smart, and the corporation was really high-rated corporation, just decided that, we got to wait a little bit to see if that comes out of that trough that the construction business went into. Well, the sad part of the whole thing, in about the end of '74, they decided not to build the plant here. Now, what we had when we first moved here, the three of us, you know, the plant manager, the sales manager, me as sales manager, and the general manager, you know, we came here in faith, and now what do? We're here, we're stuck. You know, they're not going to build the plant. What are we going to have to do? Well, two of them, we all had the opportunity to move back to Mazomania, Wisconsin, where the main plant was. And two of them decided to move back with the understanding that when another opportunity came up, they would be able to go wherever that opportunity was.
But you decided to stay.
But I decided to stay here.
And then what did you do from there? Did you stay with Wick then?
Oh, yeah. Well, what happened was, since Cliff Ketchum and Ray Baxter, who were selling the three products of Wick Homes, we split that up. And they kept the pole buildings and they kept the double wide homes. And I took the dealership on as the sales for the homes business.
How long did you do that then?
I did that for about 10 years.
Okay.
And during that time, why, it was very successful. And I remember having so much fun working, because a model home on Highway 15 going south, and that's where my office was. I invested a lot of money with the understanding and hope that I would be able to sell enough homes that I could survive.
Okay, speaking of selling homes, are there many Wick homes in Fairmont?
There are a lot of Wick homes in Fairmont. I would say overall, there probably are maybe 75 Wick homes in Fairmont.
In Fairmont alone, okay.
But I had a territory. I sold from that model home that I had on Highway 15. I sold houses to people that were moving to Minneapolis, to Hayward and Iowa. I remember building 3 houses in Hayward, and Hayward is right on the South Dakota border. So during that period of time, Wick Homes was very, very successful in the Midwest with the 3 homes that we were building.
So you were in Fairmont, but you could sell homes throughout the region, throughout the Midwest area,
oh, yeah.
Not just Fairmont.
Yeah, I had a man that I built a home for him in Fairmont, and then the corporation decided to move him to Minneapolis, and he came up to me and he said, "Would you build me a home in Minneapolis?" I said, "I certainly would."
So did you have to work on your own then, or did you have a staff, secretaries and so on?
I had a staff of 1.
Was that Paul?
No. During that time, we had CBs, and I had a tower, and I had a CB phone, and I hired a girl. In fact, I remember her name, and she's still around in Fairmont. Her name was Judy Gunther, and she's from the Gunther family. Judy was my secretary, and I would get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I would start going out. One year, I built 26 houses. So you can imagine how many subcontractors I had going to build 26 houses. Because after the house was completely erected in one day, because when the houses would come, we would put it on the foundation that I had built, and by the time the day was finished, the house was completely up, enclosed, and ready to shingle. That was the only thing that wasn't done, but it was completely enclosed, out of the weather. And of course, I loved it. And I remember working 18 hours a day because I loved doing what I was doing. And
was this when you say you worked for Wick Homes for 10 more years? Was that your last job then, or did you do something after that?
Then
was that when?
Then the building business went in the tank again. Okay. I mean, believe it or not. And there was another contractor here, he was my competitor, and I won't mention the names. But when that went in the tank the second time, you know, in the building business just wasn't very good, and people weren't buying houses, and they weren't building. He moved out of town. I decided to stay. And then I built for another year. I built my last home I built was in 1983, which is the one I live in now. And then I just stayed here, and I got another job and did this and I did that and kind of worked until I retired. Homes part kind of fell apart in Fairmont after I gave up the dealership. There was a time when there was one other person that became a Wick dealer, and it only lasted a couple of years, and that was about the end. And Wick hasn't, as the home part, has not been active in this area since that time.
But in terms of the Midwest, it is still a going business.
Still in the Midwest, it's going strong.
Well, Paul, thank you very much for being with us today and telling us about Wick Homes and your experiences. It's been very interesting, and it sounds like you had a really good run with that. So
oh, yeah.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you for watching Out of the Past, brought to you by the Martin County Historical Society. I'm Lenny Tvedten, your host. We'll see you again next time or at the Pioneer Museum.
Well, there you have it, another episode of Martin County on TV. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we welcome you to tune in again. Thank our sponsors for making this happen, and remember, it's not just the past, but the present that tells our story.